Hey YouTube, Mark here, standing in my kitchen. It is another cooking video this week, and today we're making something that it just really scares people. I don't know why. It's actually quite easy to make. It is some assembly, and I think that's the biggest fear that people have with this one. But today we're going to make lasagna. Yeah, nice and simple. Just a couple of things to cut up: an onion and some garlic. That's all we need to really cut. I actually used a minced garlic that you can probably see the blue cap over there. And that's what I use. I use a pre-minced garlic. Tastes good to me, so I use it. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you exactly the ingredients you need, and we'll get into making this. This is really good. It's for dinner tonight. Got my daughter coming over. Let's have some fun today. Okay, so I got about 12 lasagna noodles. And I'm trying to figure out why in the world lasagna noodle companies, or any noodle company that makes lasagna noodles, make them so short. I mean, look at, you got about another 2 inches before it hits the edge of the pan. Can't they make the noodle just a little bit longer so it actually fits the pan? Now, what you could do when you start making it is just kind of center them in the pan like that. That way they got maybe an inch here and an inch up here. But I don't really care for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 3 across and then another short piece down through here. Then we also need 1.5 pounds of ground hamburger, ground chuck, whatever you want to use. There's my garlic and there's my onion. We're going to saute this all together. Then we're going to add all this, a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. You can also use whole ones and then just break the tomato apart. 12-ounce can of tomato paste. Some dry parsley here. Got some black pepper, fennel, basil, and kosher salt. Now over here is our cheese. Some sugar, some Parmesan, some mozzarella, some ricotta, and then we'll have 1 egg. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to cut up an onion. So grabbing my favorite chef knife here. Cut off the end, cut off the other end, make a small incision just to break through a couple of the layers, and remove all the skin. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the onion in half. Slice one way, slice the other, and then at the end, I put that down on its side and just kind of slice through it. So there's half the onion done. Do that again. Now, if I was to go all the way through and cut all the way to this end over on this side, that's called Frenching. And you get a nice slice of onion that way. But I'm not wanting slices, I'm wanting dices. Turn the end on its side and finish chopping it up. There we go. Onion's all done, no tears. All right, let's head over to here and we're actually going to measure out all of our ingredients. Okay, so what I want to do right now is I want to measure off the herbage here and the spices for the meat sauce. Got my hamburger here, got my garlic here, my onions chopped up down there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to measure out. So that's what fennel seeds look like. And we need 1/2 teaspoon. Then here's basil. Kind of running low on my basil, but so there's my dry basil. I'm going to use 1.5 teaspoons. I'm measuring this out with a 1/2 teaspoon. Well, you know what? Just going to dump the rest in. There. You know what I just realized is that I'm going to be mixing my parsley in with my cheese. So I'm going to put that over here. But I do need my pepper. And I just need a scant little 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Now, Jen's not eating with us tonight. She's got to work, so I am putting in the salt. And I am putting in 1.5 tablespoons of salt. So that's it. That's all the seasoning I need for my meat mix. All right, now to measure out my ingredients for my cheese mixture. 2 tablespoons of sugar, a 15-ounce container of ricotta cheese. And you don't have to drain this or anything. Bloop. To me, ricotta cheese kind of has a similar taste to cottage cheese, except instead of being individual curds like a cottage cheese, this is basically one big mass. All right, then we're going to add our 1 egg, a tablespoon of parsley flakes. If you want to use fresh, go ahead, use fresh, but dried is just easier, so I'm using dried. And that's all we need for that. All we gotta do now is just mix it up. There you go, that's pretty much all you need to do. Just mix it up good. I tell you, this is hard to do, isn't it? All right, so the only other thing that we really need to do is we need 3/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. You can use fresh grated if you'd like. I'm not. Again, I'm going for simplicity in doing this. And then 15 ounces of mozzarella. Again, I'm going with a pre-shredded mozzarella. If you want to get some regular standard brick mozzarella and grate it up yourself, be my guest. All right, so I'm going to measure out my Parmesan cheese. Now this is a 1/4 cup measure, so I need to do it 3 times to get 3/4. All right, now what I want to do is I want to zero out my scale, and I want to measure out 15 to 16 ounces of cheese. If you want to use a whole pound, go ahead. That's 15.8 ounces. Close enough. Okay, as you see, I got a large pot of water, about maybe half full or so. I'm going to put that on high so I can get my noodles to boil. And here is a saute pan. I'm putting that one on high as well, and we're going to do the hamburger, the onions with the garlic. Well, since I'm waiting for my pan to heat up, what have you guys been doing this week? I had some fun. I went out on a nice motorcycle ride. Got together with a couple of friends over the weekend. So yeah, I've been having a lot of fun. Let's see. Playing D&D. Still watching Bleach. God, it's taken me forever to get through that stuff. It's like 26 seasons or something like that. It's taken me forever to get through it. It's a good show, it really is, but yeah, it's just taken forever. So what have you guys been doing? You going on any hikes? Going on any motorcycle rides? Cooking anything interesting? Let me know. Comment down below. All right, my pan's starting to get a bit warm here. So throw my hamburger in. Now I'm going to start the hamburger up just on its own for a little bit. Now when it comes to the pieces for your meat sauce, I think you should do it really small. Okay, this is going to be a very thin meat sauce. You don't want big chunks of meat in your sauce. So really get in there and really break it up. If you guys have noticed a difference in the sound quality, it's because I got this new wireless microphone system, and I got it clipped here inside my shirt. I always keep a dead cat on it. It seems to be working pretty good for my hikes and stuff, so I'm hoping that you guys like the change. All right, this is just about done. I'm going to throw in my onions and garlic. I'm only going to cook this for maybe 5 minutes or so, just to get the onions softened, get the garlic to become fragrant. Yeah, that's looking really good. I'm starting to see some bubbles forming on the bottom of my water pot there for the noodles. All right, I think that's good enough. The onions have kind of become a little bit translucent there. So I want to add my tomatoes. My paste. Now, yeah, some people will strain off the grease from the hamburger, but to me, the fat is flavor, so I keep it in there. Take my seasoning and throw that in. Yeah, that looks real good. That looks real good right there. A friend came over the other day and we were watching, gosh, I think it was Hulu or Netflix or something like that. Anyway, came across Justin Wilson. If you guys don't know who he is, he was a chef that was on years ago, back in the 70s and 80s. At least that's when I remember them. And the shows could have been older than that. They could have been in the 60s. All right, I think this is done, so I'm just going to turn that burner off. Set that aside. So that's ready to go. But God, he was so funny, you know. He's Cajun all the way through and through, you know. And he would tell some of the funniest stories. And yeah, my friend and I, we just sat here one night and we watched a couple of Justin Wilson shows. It was like, wow, that's all right. My water's coming up to a boil now. You can salt that if you want, but I'm not going to. And I'm going to throw in my lasagna noodles one at a time. And you don't want to put them all in the same direction. You want them to overlap and all right. What do I want to stir that with? You know what? I think I'm going to just use tongs. And yeah, you do want to stir them. Otherwise, the starches in the noodles will actually get them to stick together. Pick them up, move them around a little bit. You know, these lasagna noodles, they're pretty tough noodles. They really are. And we're only going to cook them for maybe 7 minutes. We're not cooking them until they're done, okay? Because actually, they will finish cooking when the lasagna is baking. Oh, and then one of the other things that came up when my friend and I were watching Justin Wilson was Paul Prudhomme. And back when I was in culinary school, I actually got to meet him. And it was at a student plate competition where basically you just you cook off your food in your own kitchen. It doesn't have to be done in class or anything like that. You build a plate, you know, and you make it, you know, just pleasing to look at. They don't taste the food or nothing. It was just, you know, how well can you design a good looking plate? Well, anyway, I was at the show And I've got several hours at the show before my time for judging and stuff like that. So I'm walking around the show and I'm looking at companies that are selling this, that, you know, try our new whiz bang new thing. And anyway, I'm sitting there walking around. Here's Chef Paul Perdone sitting at a table signing autographs. It's like, cool. So I actually have one of his books signed. And I tell you, he is a great guy. He wasn't super busy. There weren't a whole lot of people around him. But I was able to just sit there and talk to him for a little while. That was cool. I'm gonna turn that off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not technically going to strain the water, but pull the noodles out and lay them in the strainer. Just like that. That way they cool quicker and drain a little bit better. They're not all piled up on top of each other. All right, I only got a couple more in here, so I'm just going to lay those in the bottom. Oh, I'm just mixing up my my Parmesan and my mozzarella. Just making sure there's no big clumps of the parm. Break them up a little bit. And that way, that Parmesan gets all integrated into the mozzarella. All right, you guys about ready to start assembling this lasagna? This is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. Now we're going to build 3 layers. And we're going to start with the meat first. So we're going to do about 1/3 of the meat. So you should have almost a full layer across the bottom of your pan. And this is a 9 by 13 inch pan. Okay, now the next layer is going to be that ricotta, the ricotta cheese, the parsley. And again, we need about 1/3 of it. Yeah, let's see, that's close. Again, very, very thin layer. Just kind of spread it out best you can. All right, so that's what it looks like so far. Now we're going to do our noodles. One there. One there. One there. And then for the one that goes across here, well, just going to have to sacrifice the end. There we go, just like that. So that's the end of our first layer. We got the meat, the cheese, and the noodles on. And then we just repeat it. So and these leftovers, well, you could do something with them. Cut them up, make chicken stock, and put them in a chicken noodle soup, or give them to the dog. All right, now to finish this off, this last little bit of sauce, I'm gonna put on very, very lightly, of course, because there's not much here. Take it and we top it with all of this cheese. Yeah, all of it. Got 1 pound of cheese, just the mozzarella cheese. Oh yeah. Can you tell I'm from Wisconsin? All right, there's that. Now my final step before baking is to wrap it in aluminum foil just for the first half of the baking time. The reason to do this is so the cheese doesn't burn. You know, you want it brown, but you don't want it to burn. So we're going to cover it for the first half. Now, if you're making this days ahead of time, you could freeze this the way it is. And in fact, you could freeze it at pretty much any point. You could brown off the meat, the onions, and make all that meat sauce. Freeze that ahead of time. Okay, then pull it out on the day you're making it. I would not make that ricotta cheese mixture and then freeze that. I would actually use that the same day. But yeah, I could now throw this in the freezer, let it sit for a week or something like that. Bring it out, thaw it, okay, leave it just sit on the counter or in the lower part of your refrigerator for a few days. Well, in the refrigerator, not on the counter. And then we're going to bake it off. Now when we bake it off, we're going to do 375 for 25 minutes, take the foil off, and then do another 25 minutes with that foil off. And then we'll get the nice brown cheese on the top. Okay, and don't forget guys, this is just the way I make the lasagna. I know a lot of people, they'll take that mozzarella Parmesan mix and layer it in with the noodles and the meat and the ricotta cheese mix. You know, it's just another layer. You can do it that way if you want. This is the way I do it. I put the cheese on the top. I just really like that nice thick layer of cheese right on the top. It's really good. And then other things you can do, add some olives to this. If you like black olives, mix it in with that Parmesan mozzarella and have some olives in that layer. The other thing you can do is maybe add some pepperoni. Just take the pre-sliced stuff and just dice it up a little bit and throw that in again in that mozzarella layer. You know, there's just other things you can do. You can add red peppers, you can add green peppers, shallots. I mean, you can get as far flung on these lasagnas as you want. Okay, it's all up to you. You do what you want to do, I'll do what I want to do. Okay, so like I said, this is for dinner tonight with my daughter Sarah. Her and her boyfriend are coming over for dinner. And so right now that lasagna is just going to sit for a few hours and then we're going to start baking it off. All right. Okay, to go ahead and turn the oven on, 375. And once that gets up to temperature, we'll throw the lasagna in and we'll cook it for 25 minutes with that foil on, and then we'll take it off after that and do another 25 minutes with the foil off. So 50 minutes total in cook time, okay? Okay guys, oven's preheated. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the lasagna in. And we're gonna set the timer for 25 minutes. Okay guys, so there's my 25 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it out. Take off the aluminum foil. And now I'll stick it back in the oven for another 25 minutes. Okay guys. Oh, you know what? I gotta turn that up to 475 because I'm going to do some rolls there. But the lasagna is done. Whew. Check that out, guys. Awesome, awesome stuff. All right. Put the cheese bread in. And I think that's just for like 5 minutes. Well, I'm gonna let it cool down just a little bit because it's like really hot. Sarah and Brandon just arrived, so we're getting ready to eat. All right, so tell me how you like the lasagna. I haven't made lasagna for a long time.
It's really good.
You like it?
It's not runny, which is my favorite part.
Not soup. It's spaghetti cake.
Truthfully, I think the way to keep away from the runniness is using actually quite a bit of tomato paste, but then don't fully cook the noodles till they're done. You only cook, right, they're going to cook and they're going to absorb some of that moisture in the pan. That's my philosophy anyway.
It's a good philosophy.
Pretty good. Pretty what?
This store's overrun by women.
Wait, men housekeep too?
All right, everybody, so I think the consensus is that the lasagna is really damn good, so go ahead and make it yourself. This is Mark saying thanks again for watching. See you on the road.
I really hope they won't.